focus of employment being, I need to be an employee. Somebody needs to employ me. The world is shifting and is moving to a space where you need to, just like Dr. Bannerman said, identify opportunities. There are opportunities in the problem. So if you just look at the problem as a problem, you will not be able to identify what you can do and become an entrepreneur. A lot of MSMEs, micro, small, medium enterprises that we deal with, sometimes it's a one-person organization or a business. Because they have an idea, we work with them. And I think this will allow me to also speak to the gentleman who was asking whether you should know somebody. When you are approaching for assistance, sometimes it's best not to just approach from the funding angle. Once you engage based on your idea, your innovation, based on the technical support that you need to refine it, most often, even if the person in the organization you are speaking with doesn't have funding for you, because of that support that they were giving you technically, they may be in a different conversation, and that's the essence of networks. They may be in a different conversation where somebody mentions a fund, and then they immediately click that, oh, yes, they were working or supporting you or advising on this bit of thing. And so for us, that's the angle within which we work, because clearly, when it comes to policies and things, sometimes you know that even the government cannot employ. So from that UN point of view, it's rather about skills building, but building those skills in a green way or effort. Yes, I think that's the first question. I think it's more. Yes. So yes, it was related more to ELCOIS. I don't know if the framing, but what I can say, of course, without necessarily touching on, the batteries and the rest, because there are also other areas or angles where you can reduce emissions with innovation. So, for instance, we have people who we work with who are turning banana stem, right, into textiles. You have people who are turning waste into compost. Ordinarily, this waste, the organic waste, will go to a landfill site. It will generate methane emissions. But then you change it into compost. Now, that compost, which is organic, which is when used, means that you have removed a number of farmers who would have used chemical fertilizers. So from the waste change, you've already reduced emissions. From the avoidance of the chemical fertilizer, you've also reduced emissions from that angle. Of course, there are a lot more innovations that are happening within the space. But then, as you know, one person doesn't lead all the things. But at least for the ones that I know, these are the ones that I have shared with you. Thank you.
Sorry, so I understand the question was based on all the ELCOIS, what innovations have come up, right? By default, those of us here and those who are not here, so long as we are youth, by default, we are members of ELCOI, right? And so for me, being here or wearing the ELCOI dress does not only mean that only those here are ELCOI. So by default, all youth in Ghana are ELCOI. The NDCs that we submitted had an estimate that if you look at all the actions that we have in them, we were going to employ almost about 7,500 youth. Example, one of the activities was that we want to transition to EVs, electric vehicles, okay? You know, most of our mechanics in this country, their knowledge is on internal combustion engines. And so if we teach a new set of youth, when it comes to issues of how to repair these EVs, it's a way of creating jobs. But also important is that we have a Ghanaian youth-led entity called Wahoo, which is transforming the motorbikes that are used by our brothers who do the deliveries and stuff from internal combustion ones to to electric bikes. So this is just one example that readily comes to mind when it comes to how ELCOI default, the youth, supporting innovation when it comes to climate change mitigation issues. Thank you.
Okay, thank you all. We want to say thank you to our panelists for this insightful session. And quickly to summarize what we've done here today in this session, I think we've had a clear overview of the history of climate change and the NDCs in Ghana. We've also been able to identify some gaps, which include data, technology, financing, and the issue on ESG. And we've been told about some of the areas that we can plug in and how we can build our capacities in that area. And the issue of awareness raising has also come up. And I think that goes to both those of us here, including the youth. We should identify ways that we can increase awareness about NDCs and climate change in general. And we've been also advised to engage some more and engage, and we are not just looking at going to ask for funding, but also for technical expertise to support us in our work. Thank you all for joining in and for listening. And we hope that whatever knowledge we've gained from you, we'll be able to use it to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, now let's have our group photo. So you heard from our panelists. I think by now we know the basic concepts of the NDCs and also the climate negotiation processes. Mr. Nathan Agriwi from YOTA, please take a seat. These are all members of the steering committee. Romeo, if you are here, please join us. Safo Dankwa from SYND, and Ella from YCC. Keep clapping, please. And yes, our ultimate panelist, that is Victor from the EPA, Environment Protection Authority. Please join us upstage. Great. Welcome. Yes, so briefly, everyone is wondering what GICA is. Could you let us know what GICA is about?
Yeah, so thank you very much. So we just have some few copies currently, but there's still some few validations yet, and then we can roll out the final documents, but we have some few copies available and people can have a look at it. So what a Ghana Youth Climate Action Roadmap is that it's a document that contains 3 key components. That's, first of all, donor priority areas. So over the years, the youth, we've been struggling when it comes to, getting access to funding and also implementing the projects, just as was discussed on the previous panel. So we decided that it was better and expedient for us to look at what the donors are looking to do, first of all, and then secondly, what is government seeking to do? Where does the two meet, and how can we draw the synergies between the two? And then finally, how can we have roadmaps for the youth for the next 5 years? And then we can have measurable steps that we can be able to measure the impacts of the youth and what we are doing in the space. So we looked at, for instance, UNDP, ILO, we reached out to government agencies as well, got all of that consolidated, and then we were able to come up with